Good evening. Welcome to the May 11th Clifton Park Town Board meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Teresa, if you call the roll.
Councilman Whalen?
He is on there.
Councilman Whalen?
Here. Yep.
Councilwoman Standard? Here. Councilman Romano?
Here.
Councilwoman Wallowwood? Here. Supervisor Barrett?
Here. Okay, no minutes this evening, but did have a few communications and announcements. We continue to work under the workforce reduction mandates per Governor Cuomo in New York State, but every department continues to operate daily. So Town Hall is still closed, Senior Center, Public Safety Building, all the town buildings are closed, but you can call and still receive assistance, and that's been occurring each and every day. So I do want to thank all of the town employees, particularly the town clerk's office that has been seeing people quite often, and for doing it safely and under our new procedures. We will have a reopening plan in place when the time comes. Unfortunately, today, the governor spoke of the various regions in New York State, and based on the 7 categories, the 7 metrics that have been established, 3 of the regions did meet the criteria, and we'll be able to open in, I don't know, a week or so. The capital region did not meet that criteria, so unfortunately, we're not quite there yet. Although there's been tremendous progress. We continue to post information. I have been posting some tables and graphs that provide daily updates on the number of hospitalizations, active cases, recovered cases, total number of positive cases, which is just shy of 400 at this point. We had 4 county residents hospitalized due to COVID a couple of days ago. That's bumped up a little bit to 7. And but overall, the situation is very good. We're very, we all, I think, take it very hard when we have fellow county residents that have passed. And our condolences certainly go out to all of the families that have been affected by COVID-19 pandemic. They had family members that passed, friends, or even that became ill, that created a very difficult situation for families and a scary situation. So our heart goes out to all. But we continue to assist those that are most vulnerable in our community. We continue to conduct grocery shopping activities and other errands that people are volunteering to perform for senior citizens in our community. I want to thank everybody that's been coordinating that here and the volunteers. I mean, when we're able to have public meetings again with people in attendance, one of the first things we're going to do is have a meeting and honor all the volunteers, the businesses that have been tremendous, assisting many people in the community. So we look forward to that day, return to normalcy, and the ability to honor these people that have invested a great deal of time and energy in helping their neighbor. What a wonderful activity. It's something that we appreciate so much. I do want to just briefly talk about an announcement that we made on Friday. We continue to prepare for the camps and opening, which is the end of June, the pool's opening Memorial Day weekend, and July 4th, which occurs on July 4th, obviously. But the time had come to make a decision on some of these dates and activities. It became increasingly evident that opening the pools on Memorial Day weekend was something that would not be allowed. So we have back that date to July 1st. It also became increasingly evident that July 4th activities as we know them, the parade, fireworks, would not be able to occur on July 4th. So we've taken a step back. We're now focused on opening the pools on July 1st. I can't guarantee we'll be allowed to open the pools on July 1st, but that is the new date that we have established as a goal. And we'll continually assess the situation as it draws nearer. As far as July 4th, the new date that we're targeting, we don't have any plans, I would say, that are set in stone at this time, but we are targeting the Saturday of Labor Day weekend as a possibility to have fireworks and hopefully a parade or some kind of community celebration. But again, we don't know if that will be allowed. I mean, July 4th draws thousands of people, and I don't know if that type of an event will be allowed in September. It's certainly not going to be allowed in July, as far as we can see, especially with the news today that we can't even begin to open here in the capital region. But I'm not sure if it'll be allowed in September, but at least it's a possibility, and it's a date that we can target and prepare for. Now, I said all along that the one thing we're not going to do is enter into contracts that would make it difficult for the town to recoup spent money. And that, we were approving contracts or approving bids for, items such as pool chemicals, which we would be starting to buy in a normal year very soon, the fireworks show. There's various items that we've been approving over the last couple of months. But I stated then, and I'll state now, I was not going to sign any contracts that would commit the town to spending money or putting forward deposits that we may not get back if the event doesn't occur. We're not going to buy pool chemicals if the pools aren't open. We're not going to pay a deposit on a fireworks show for July 4th that I don't see any way that that show is allowed to occur. So we've held back in that regard. But a decision needs to be made. I mean, for instance, we did contact the fireworks contractor and said, look, we don't want to sign this contract because it does commit us to some money here. So can you give us a little more time to make a decision to and allow us to continuously follow the new guidelines, directives, guidance that are coming from the state each day? And they said, yeah, they would give us some time. But at this point, it became clear that we would not be able to host the event, so why put it off any longer? So we have contacted them about September, and we'll continually assess the possibility of holding that event, just as we will opening of the pools July 1st. As far as the camps are concerned, we're continuing to uh, assess alternatives, possibilities. I find it hard to imagine that we can expect at the end of June to just run our full day camp and half day camps as we always have. I don't believe that's reality. I don't believe that'll be allowed. Might we be able to do something different? Possibly. But we don't know yet. And that's something that we're looking at closely. Many other communities have already canceled. Oh, well, actually, over the last month, I would say, many other communities have canceled all of their camps for the summer. And I don't know of any communities that are holding camps. Now, we have spoken with some community partners to gain some ideas that they may be trying to implement this summer. Maybe there's a way we can partner with other community organizations within the town to team up to have more facilities and grounds that we might be able to do something working together. But at this point, we just don't have an answer to that yet. Now, we could have certainly, at this point, made the decision, as all these other communities have, and cancel our camps for the year. But we're just trying to do everything we can. Before we make a decision like that, I want to make sure that we've turned over every rock, considered every alternative, and studied every option. So we'll have some additional information on that soon. So that covers where we're at as far as summer programs at this time. We also canceled the two shows that were part of the concert series in June, and that being Clifton Park Community Chorus as well as the Accents. So we did cancel those two shows, and Sunday concerts could be another activity that doesn't continue into the summer, but we'll see. Pretty soon we'll have to give guidance on the shows in July and August. But again, it goes back to what we are allowed to do. Now today, the governor did mention, and right up to before we came down here, Matt, was there still nothing online in writing about sports and activities? So I guess today, verbally, the governor said that tennis courts, for instance, there would be some sports and activities that could proceed soon. One of those, well, the only one he mentioned was tennis. I think that was the only example he mentioned, right, Matt? Yeah. So the only example he mentioned was tennis. I assume there's others, but until it's in writing, I guess we won't know. So, at least that is one activity that we may be able to allow in the next week, where we can open the tennis courts back up. I'd be very surprised if they allow basketball courts to open back up, but who knows? We'll see. But, so that's the latest news as of today. Not a lot of good news for for the capital region, since we're not part of the group that can reopen. And obviously the very disappointing announcement we had to make Friday morning about the summer activities that I just chronicled in detail, that they will not be, all the plans that we put in place will not be occurring as they do each and every year in the town of Clifton Park. Are there any other communications or announcements? Okay. Again, I want to thank the town board, our town clerk, and everybody that has pulled together to work toward the goal of serving Clifton Park residents and being here each and every day to make sure that if residents have issues that need to be addressed and any permits, I know Teresa's been doing a lot of permits, whatever the case may be, assessment questions, that we're here and doing the job. All right, John Scavo, you're on the phone?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right, and speak up nice and loud for us. So I wanted John just to give us an update on the moratorium that the town board put in place on the western part of town as part of the update of the Western Clifton Park GEIS that was conducted, well, over a dozen years ago. Time flies. So tell us, John, where we are at with that study at this point.
Yes, at this point, we are at the point of still data collection and mapping exercises. Last week, we were notified that we were awarded approximately $12,000 in labor that will be provided by both TDTC and CDRTC through their technical assistance grant program, with assisting with data collection, mapping, traffic map modeling, and as part of the graphic data product, they will provide a current snapshot of the study area conditions for a range of issues that include land use, transportation, and socio-economic and demographic data that has occurred within the study area since the Western Clifton Park GEIS plan's adoption in 2005.
Very good. So as far as the timetable goes, obviously a lot of things have been a little harder to execute with the workforce reductions and being pulled in many different directions than normal. So where are we as far as the time frame goes? What we originally established as the time frame, where we are today, and once we get to that 6-month date, are we going to have this done, or do we need to consider extending?
I do think we will have it done by September, as far as the data collection and research, to be able to take that picture, snapshot of where we are. If you do want to consider tweaks to the zoning code, that would be an additional discussion that could occur either under an extended moratorium, or it could happen with the moratorium expiring, because we're not seeing a flurry of activities in that area. Western Clifton Park, in terms of new applications coming in during the current economic conditions. So we would have those options to in December, but not knowing what the data is going to show, that would be the next step, is to have that conversation of, do we need to tweak anything, do we keep it as is?
Well, I think we still want to consider the couple of issues that have come up over the years on the zoning side. I know non-conforming is one. Secondly, the new questions that we brought up as far as solar goes. If, right now, I guess there might be one more project allowed by National Grid based on the amount of room they have left for solar in their system. I haven't seen anything from National Grid. They were doing a study to give that applicant a final answer. Have we received anything yet?
I have not received the official correspondence from National Grid. I was told verbally by the applicant that National Grid told them that there was capacity and the letter should be forthcoming, but to date I have not yet received that written verification.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything official either. So there might be one more project. It has been submitted, and we've talked about this in the past few months that National Grid was studying the available capacity and would report back to the town and the applicant. So I know that particular application is on hold, waiting for that answer. But the concerns that we expressed as far as when there is more capacity available, and there will be at some point, and they want to add to a current solar facility, I think that is one concern that we had, because that would bring, if you have a multi-megawatt facility that suddenly has an addition to it built, well, now you've got a very large project that is definitely something that should be reviewed a lot more closely. So that was, one of the concerns, and I think those need to be addressed as well.
Yes, sir.
So I don't think we've changed our views on that. Those things being considered during the 6 months.
Correct. It's, one of the things I will be doing tomorrow at noon is participating in a regional webinar that's put on by the New York Planning Federation. And I believe it was April, the governor signed what's known as the Accelerated Renewable Energy Growth and Community Benefit Act. And tomorrow's webinar will be discussions on the implications for local communities and how that applies. Basically, there's a bill that larger projects now will be reviewed by the Public Service Commission. And it has been signed into law. So I'll get the threshold, additional information on that. I'll share that with the board members.
Well, when we had the public hearing, about the moratorium, and we had some public discussion here, and the question did arise, and at that point we didn't know, but there was talk down in Albany that it was a possibility New York State would take all solar projects out of the hands of the local boards, town board, planning board, zoning board. They would completely eliminate local decision making. Now, they didn't completely eliminate it, but they did raise the thresholds. Lower the thresholds as far as the size of the projects are concerned, and at what point is there no local decision making. Prior to the change that you're talking about, it had to be a very large project for the local decision making to be pushed to the side in favor of it was a regional group and guided by the state. So they lowered that threshold. Now smaller projects would go through that same process in favor of local decision making. Is that how you understand it?
That's how I understand it. I will find out tomorrow what that new threshold is for projects, and I will share that with the board.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was offhand, but it was definitely lower than what it had been. So
Correct.
How that might affect future projects, I don't know. The other thing I'd like to know is, does that account, I mean, is that for just one single project? I mean, what if you have two projects on the same piece of property or joining properties? So in other words, say the minimum is 7 megawatt, just for the sake of argument. And you've got a 5 megawatt, and then they want to put another 5 megawatt next to it. Where does that second 5 megawatt fall in? Does it fall into the local decision making? Or is it grouped together and considered a 10 megawatt?
Very good question. It could be potentially interpreted as part of a larger common plan and for environmental impact. That's how locally we look at it, but I do have to look at the newest legislation and see how they apply that at the state.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, we'd appreciate that, that answer as well. Are there any questions for John before I move on? John, we also, well, we didn't, residents along Wooddale Drive recently received a letter from somebody that wanted to do some timbering of the wooded area behind Wooddale Drive. What's the update on that?
Yes, basically there was a letter that was dated March 10th, but the postmaster and the receipt by the resident within the first week of May. Postmaster stamped the envelopes as received and through their postal meter April 29th of this year. The letter was sent by Stillwater Forestry Services. It speaks to a site plan which is wrong. The project would have to be by special use permit. It basically stated that it was proposed within 500 feet of the recipient's property for selective timber harvest. The letters reference a map and application that is on file with the town planning department. We have neither. We have not had an application filed. In addition, we have no map, so reached out to Stillwater Forestry Services, did not hear back from them, so I also sent a letter, and they did forward a copy of the map. They were exploring the timber harvest application. We did not provide them the 500-foot notification either on that, so there is no application filed to date. Currently exploring the possibility of selective timber harvest, which fall under the silviculture guidelines. There is a process for that. There is no application filed, and the letter should not have been sent stated such.
Right, so there's no application. There's no approvals, obviously, if there's no application.
Correct.
So they are not allowed to go in at any time before they have approval to selectively timber. So are they clear on this? I mean, in writing, we've told them this, right?
Correct, yes. I followed it up with a letter also documenting that no application's been received, nor have they corresponded with us on such. They cannot do such activities until they obtain all the necessary local approvals, which include special use permit, that needs to first be filed with the building department and then reviewed for approval by the planning board.
Okay. Now people do selectively timber their properties from time to time, people that will own forested lands. Tell us a little bit about that process, what the application consists of, what's the process, how is it approved, those types of things. I mean, it's not a denuding of the property, it's not a, just cut everything, that's why it's called selective harvest. But tell us a little bit about that process.
Sure. Basically, under New York State, silviculture is a recognized practice, which includes selective timber harvest. It's not oversaw by somebody who you would hire to cut down trees in your yard. It has to be certified and licensed New York State Forester that has to document basically a management plan with the inventory, what the health of that forest or that tree stand is, and what would provide the best fitting of the tree canopy and select the species to allow that forest to thrive, continue to regenerate, allow saplings to grow so that typically you'll see selective timber harvest every 20 to 30 years on parcels of land. To give an example from the town, over the last, since 1960, there's some parcels being harvested twice. Some are just starting to be considered for three harvesting over the last 60 years. The tracking timber harvest within the town. We do require that the remaining what's known as basal area is at least 50 square feet, 30 square feet. We often see applicants come in higher. I believe in this letter that was sent, again, with no application file, they said that the remaining basal area would be 50 square feet, which would be above the town threshold. That's basically measuring the diameter of trees, calculating the remaining square footage. The trees measured at 4.5 feet high, and that selective timber method that we've seen, and we had a project on Riverview Road this last winter that was done using a similar method to what was proposed in this letter. Again, mature trees basically form islands that allow saplings to grow up around them, thicken the tree canopy to allow sunlight to penetrate through, to allow smaller trees to mature, grow over the next 20, 30 years. And the project that we saw on Riverview Road was previously timber harvested in 1993 that occurred this winter. So that gives you the time period. It doesn't happen every day. Residents that did remember the 1993 timber harvest that on Riverview Road, when moved in 2000 at Lake Woods, the same forester that proposed this winter's timber harvest on Riverview Road also oversaw the 93 timber harvest. It's basically able to validate, if you like what you see there today, that's what it will continue to be going forward by preserving the health of the forest.
Right, okay. All right, well, I just wanted to, I know I got a couple of questions about that letter that went to residents, so I asked John about it right at the end of last week, and he updated me on the current situation, which was they don't have an application, and at this point, obviously, no approvals. So thank you for that update, John.
I would add to that is typically once an application is filed, we will provide an applicant a 500-foot mailing notification letter, so we would know who received the letter. Because we never generated that, I couldn't follow up with residents to just guess who may have gotten letters because it didn't come from us, the labels, to notify an applicant, here's who you need to send the letter to.
Yeah, now there's many actions and applications that trigger a 500-foot notification. And as John just mentioned, just as a reminder, we provide the labels to the applicant, and that way John knows who received the letter and who didn't. And also be able to verify that they did receive the letter. Is that correct, John?
That is correct, as we make it either by certified mail or an affidavit of mailing from the post office acknowledging that they received the letters that are listed.
That I didn't ask. I don't know if it came certified. Not that it matters, because it's as far as we're concerned, the mailing isn't official, so it doesn't matter that it did, but I didn't ask that. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't sent certified. We didn't get anything on our end. I did get a copy of an envelope from one of the residents. It just went through the regular mail service, but if I do who received the letters or who was provided the mailing, I'd be able to follow up and let them know what I'm telling the town board, the residents watching this evening. Because we didn't generate those letters application filed, but the whole process was wrong because we never filed the application.
Right. Okay. Very good. Appreciate that update. And we'll continue to talk about our plans for reopening Town Hall in the coming weeks. We are installing safety measures at different locations, and we'll also have new protocols for employees and people visiting Town Hall. I think what, as a town board, we need to consider is, there is the option of opening for limited hours. In other words, maybe open for, half a day, maybe open for just certain days of the week. But I think that creates a lot of confusion with residents. And I'm kind of leaning toward if that perhaps we should wait until we can open fully, that we don't open town hall and other public buildings until that time. But it's another thing that we'll have to assess on a day-to-day basis. From the very beginning, elements of our operations based on the guidance from New York State change daily. So we need to remain flexible. But I think at this point, opening for partial hours will just, I think, create more confusion with residents. So for everybody's protection and the fact that all you need to do is call. If you need something from the town clerk's office, call the town clerk. They'll be ready for you. The assessor, you can answer any assessment questions you have. Any basic information, you can contact my office, and I could go down the whole list. So if you do need something, it's there. Transfer station permits are being sold, both at the transfer station and the senior permits are being sold by the clerk. Teresa and I had spoken about it a few weeks ago and decided it would be much better to mail out the information regarding new transfer station permits to seniors. Believed it wouldn't be a good practice to invite seniors to come to town hall to buy their senior permit for the transfer station, that there might be an easier way. It was decided doing it by mail would accomplish the mission, but in a much more safe and efficient manner. And I think we've seen that that's been the case, right?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, and I think that's, we talk about many operational things that might change throughout our society, whether it's government, private business. I think those types of operational changes actually will probably live on past this year.
However, we would really miss having seniors
Yes.
to see things.
I know.
That was one of the highlights of them coming in.
Yeah.
For their safety.
Yeah.
Work coverage.
Yeah, plus it would have been very unwieldy for you to try to, have that many people. We were talking, 1,500-1,600 permits. So just for seniors, so that would be quite a feat to meet them all at the door and do it in a safe manner. So. But well done on that. So we'll continue to update everybody on that as the plans come together. I've asked Lou Pasquarello to put together some information as our safety officer. He already has a lot of it done. So we'll have everything that we need soon. We do have a few resolutions, Teresa, if you could read through those, please.
A resolution adopting a local law eliminating the requirement for a public hearing on renewal applications of existing term conservation easements. Whereas section 125-10C of the town code contains a requirement that all applications for renewal of expiring term conservation easements shall be heard at a town board public hearing in order to be approved for renewal. And whereas on April 20th, 2020, the town board held a public hearing on a proposal to eliminate this requirement for renewal applications for existing term conservation easements pursuant to section 104 of the Public Officers Law and effective Executive Order 202.1. And whereas the board wishes to update and streamline the process by which holders of existing conservation easements may renew for an additional term of the same level. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board adopts local law number 5 of 2020 attached, eliminating the requirement for a public hearing for renewal of such applications as attached, and be it further resolved that chapter 125-10C is amended as attached, and be it further resolved the town clerk is ordered to publish and post the notice of adoption. A resolution to retain MJ Engineering and Land Surveying PC for professional engineering services to evaluate the feasibility of a sewer district to service the former Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation service area. Whereas Crescent Waste Water Treatment Corporation has provided written notices of its intention to abandon the wastewater treatment service area in the town. Whereas the town board wishes to explore the feasibility of establishing a new sewer district commensurate with the boundaries and service area of the Cookham Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation to provide service to all existing customers and properties that benefited by the existing infrastructure. And whereas MJ Engineering and Land Surveying has proposed a scope of work and cost estimates to explore the costs associated with the formation of a new sewer district and present those findings at a public information meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes MJ Engineering and Land Surveying PC to provide professional engineering services to determine the cost formation of a new sewer district within the project area and to conduct a public meeting to provide an overview of the contemplated sewer district, a no cost not to exceed $5,900, and be it further resolved that the comptroller is authorized to offset the cost of the scope of the work to be paid from budget line item expenditure engineering services. A resolution awarding the construction contract for the improved recreational access to the Missionary Nature Preserve project to Betty and Spring LLC pursuant to competitive bid. Whereas the town of Clifton Park has an existing grant contract with the New York State Canals Corporation, number C010174, and a grant contract with New York State DOT identified as.
Hold on, let me. Are you guys all muted?
All participants are muted.
Can they unmute themselves?
Yes. Some people don't. We need to access.
Whereas the town of Clifton Park has an existing grant contract with the New York State Canals Corporation and a grant contract with New York State DOT to fund a portion of the Bishop Fair Nature Preserve project as a transportation federal aid project and appropriating funds therefore. And whereas a resolution 286 of 2014, the town board authorized the retention of Bartlett Judas to prepare engineering design drawings as well as final plans, specifications, and bid documents, which were advertised for bid on February 21st, 2020, pursuant to section 103 of the general municipal law. And whereas after a bid opening on March 19th, 2020, Barton and Judas performed a bid analysis and recommended that the construction contract be awarded to Betty and Green LLC as low bidder. And whereas by resolution 316 of 2014, the town board created a capital projects fund to cover costs of design and construction for the project and payment in the first instance. Whereas the project is supported by federal, state, and local funding sources. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board accepts the recommendation of the project design engineer, Bartlett and Judas, and hereby awards the construction contract for the improved recreational access to the Missionary Nature Preserve Project to Betty and Crane LLC pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 103, at a cost not to exceed $596,051, which represents a base low bid of $636,051 and $40,000 in additional reduced cost savings to be paid from Bishop Ferry Capital Project Trails Contract Equipment. Be it further resolved that the town board authorizes the comptroller to pay 100% of the costs of construction and construction management services in the first instance pending reimbursement from grant funding sources for operative grant contracts in place for the project. And be it further resolved that Barton and Judas is authorized to notify Betty and Crane LLC to proceed with construction expected to be substantially completed within 90 days from the issuance of a notice to proceed. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute all contract documents implementing this resolution.
Very good, thank you. If you could read the headings and we'll consider each one individually.
Resolution number 100 of 2020, a resolution adopting a local law eliminating the requirement for a public hearing on renewal applications of existing term conservation easements.
So, second,
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Swallowit, and we're always looking for new partners in this very popular program, conservation easement program. It's done a great job in protecting, on a temporary basis, thousands of acres in the town of Clifton Park. So we certainly are always looking for new partners and would appreciate the continued support of the many people involved. Any discussion? Okay, Teresa?
Councilman Whalen? Do you need to unmute?
No, we can do it. Star 6. They have it.
Jim, Whalen? Try unmuting yourself. No,
Star 6.
they're on there, aren't they?
Yeah, they can do it themselves. They have
Star 6. Yeah, they're on there.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know.
Councilman Whalen?
you said that you needed it.
You can do Star 6.
Wait,
Star 6.
Star 6.
yes. Okay.
So you're saying they can unmute?
Star 6, yes.
Can anybody unmute their phone? Star 6. Anybody listen?
There are 5 that are on there.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I was tracking from before.
Maybe there's another technology glitch with this
I can
high-level technology that we're using here.
but then we'll make it feedback again. So,
That's, John said that he tried to unmute the host, so they cannot unmute themselves.
All participants are unmuted.
There we go.
Councilman Whalen?
Can you guys hear us now? Yeah?
Yep.
Yes,
Councilwoman
yes.
Standard? Yes. Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Malowit?
Yes,
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 101 of 2020, a resolution to retain MJ Engineering and Land Surveying, PC, for professional engineering services to evaluate the feasibility of a sewer district to serve the former Crescent Waste Treatment Corp. service area.
so moved. Second,
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Swallowit. We've been talking about the reality of another private sewer system being abandoned to the town of Clifton Park, and this one's fairly large, couple thousand customers. Others that have been abandoned going way back to the early 2000s, Woodland Hills, Dutch Meadows, Old Knot Farm was before them. That was a small one. And then CK Sanitary came along a few years after Woodland Hills and Dutch Meadows. That was several thousand. So we're looking at another fairly large private sewer system. It's the last one. And we've been preparing for the process. The first thing that we needed to do was get some information from the current owner. We have some that we like, not all. And Mike, tell us a little bit about the bid process for the map plan and report.
Sure. We reached out to numerous small size firms and outlined what we wanted.
Speak up a little bit, Mike. Mike, speak up a little bit.
Okay, we reached out to some firms, their experience in creating sewer districts, and obviously I'm going with the lowest price, but they will go ahead and put together a map based on the customer list, and nothing's still in the gaps. There could be some mid that kind of thing, and one of it, if you come back here, there is components of other fields that are all systems and
Okay, so the price that they bid was lowest of the bunch, 5,900, right?
yes, sir, other than those, and that's not the next lowest, I think is 1080.
Okay. So the next thing we need to do is get this map plan and report completed as quickly as possible. Once we have that, that'll develop the basis for creating a special district. We will create a special district within the boundaries of what is now the privately owned Crescent Way sewer system, at which time we'll be able to assume operational maintenance of the system. And that includes billing, maintaining the pump stations and pipes. We'll no doubt need to embark on some larger projects to fix some areas that no doubt will need some need to be overhauled. Is that the best way to put it, Mike? It's similar to what we've done with the other sewer districts or sewer companies that we've assumed responsibility for in the past. So once the map plan and report is done, then the special district is created. The next step is to assess what we have taken ownership of and prioritize capital projects that need to be completed. So that'll be the next part of the process. Mike is trying to get a jump on the assessment of the system as it is today. So that way we're not accepting the system completely cold, flat-footed. And so he's trying to get a jump on that and familiarize himself as best as possible. So that way he and our sewer department will have some knowledge before we assume ownership. Anything else that you want to tell us, Mike?
Well, consistent with what you just said, we did complete a tour of all the pump stations already and inventory of what's going on there. So we're already starting the groundwork to, get stuff in place, to upgrade the alarm systems and also to have some reserve equipment in place for the pump stations, in the pump.
Yeah, that's very good, and I'm glad you're taking those steps. Now, what about grinder pumps in this system? Certainly, grinder pumps have been a topic of conversation with some of the other systems that we assumed ownership of, most notably CK Sanitary. What are we looking at as far as grinder pumps for this system?
Well, my understanding in numerous discussions with the gentleman that runs Crescent Way, that there are no grinder pumps that Crescent Way is responsible for, interior or
well, keep moving quickly, because, we need to get this map plan report done ASAP and, and get the process of creating the special district underway. We will have a public hearing in June regarding the formation of the special district. But we need to set that, have a couple of weeks in between, and then have the public hearing. We have found in the past, when we have proceeded with a similar process, that people were actually pleased that the town was taking ownership of the system. So the comments that we received with similar processes in the past have been very positive. If anything, it was more along the lines of trying to be helpful. You know, we've experienced this issue in the past, want to make sure you know about it. That type of thing. It was more feeding of information to us, which we appreciate. But when it has been customary that people were pleased, the town would be assuming ownership of the system. I would expect the same would be true here. But we'll see. All right, Mike, very good. You can keep us apprised of their progress, but they need to move quickly on this report.
Yes, sir, we'll talk about that tomorrow, but we know that the resolution is on tonight, and I think they're ready to hit the ground running.
Okay, I certainly hope so. Any questions for Mike? Any comments? Okay, so we talked about this initiative at past meetings, and I said to Mike, I said, well, it is a big responsibility to assume. I said, but hey, look at it this way. We took on thousands of customers with little or no experience back more than 15 years ago or so. So at least now we do have experience. So look at it that way. Right, Mike? Oh, congratulations, Mike, by the way. Congratulations are in order, too.
I'll do that tomorrow, thank you.
Yes, well, yes. Did you get a map plan report done before you got hitched, or? All right, Teresa.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 102 of 2020, a resolution awarding the construction contract for the improved recreational access to the Bishop Area Nature Preserve project, PIN 1SB 1.32/D0349172, Betty and Green LLC, pursuant to competitive bid. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Wallowit. This is a tremendous project. Really looking forward to seeing the improvements through to completion here in the Bishop Area Nature Preserve. We've been working closely with our partners such as DOT on this project. It'll be a wonderful improvement for the preserve. There were several bidders. Betty and Kring LLC was the low bidder. It is grant funded. However, we had a funding gap, right, John? Maybe John can bring us up to speed on this.
We did have a funding gap under this current bid. We had a gap last year when we went out to bid, did not award the construction contract. It was a funding gap of $150,000, and we just could not close that gap. So we went ahead and solicited a new grant application. It was awarded, the town was awarded an additional $150,000. So we went out to bid this year, and the bid cost came in a little bit higher than last year, which still created a $52,000 gap, but we were able to negotiate down with the contractor, the lowest contractor, to get that gap to $12,000.
So we went to the grant well twice, if you will, and we were able to secure the funds to move forward on this project. John, if you could just briefly describe the project. I know it's going to make it much easier for people to access different sections of the preserve. It'll also make it easier for people down in the Klutz dry dock area to get to the trail that we constructed a couple of years ago that goes from the main area of the preserve near the Whipple Bridge all the way down to the Twin Bridges. When the trail ends, you're looking up at the Twin Bridges, so it's a nice walk. And it's great to explore because we constructed other bridges along the way, obviously because there's water features all through the preserve. And it's a nice walk. The only thing is, when you get to the end and you're looking up at the Twin Bridges and you say, wow, that was really nice, then you realize you gotta walk all the way back. With this additional pedestrian enhancement, it can cut down on the length of the walk at any one time. Is that correct, Jim?
Correct. Basically, Cruise Dry Dock is conveniently in the middle of that slope down restoration project that was completed with the Down and Half Road about a year and a half ago. And what this does is basically connect the historic Cruise Dry Dock location with the Farmer Bridge, or we're basically recreating the Farmer's Bridge that previously connected Cruise Dry Dock to the enlarged Erie Canal waterway and the go down on the other side of that canal. So it does shorten the lane by which if somebody wants to walk that canal. It's just another access point and how they can utilize Cruise Dry Dock to do such, and also explore the Cruise Dry Dock historic area. It's interesting because I did find in our project file a resolution from 1995, which Linda Wallowitz was one of the sponsors for what was known as IT transportation and service money at the time through the federal government to this project. So it was part of a plan since the 1990s. And it's finally coming to fruition here. And the timing, I think, is great because this was over the last 7 weeks. Any warm, nice sunny day since March, that preserve has had increased use by people looking to get out, get some fresh air, and walk that area. In addition to the Farmers Bridge that will be utilizing prefabricated trusses over concrete bridge abutments. There will also be construction of a stone dust pedestrian trail to get to the Farmers Bridge and from the gravel parking area, and installation of timber guide railing, and then landscaping and site restoration as part of construction. One of the ways we were able to reduce construction costs is about $30,000 worth of tree removal that was done using our local labor forces from both the town highway department and building and grounds department. So that was a tremendous cost saving that allowed us to bring construction costs in line with grant funding that we have now.
Yep, absolutely. So looking forward to this coming to fruition. There's also a Eagle Scout project down in Klutz Dry Dock as well, right, John?
Yes, there was a trail loop that was done by Eagle Scout. It's on our town website and it is accessible to the public to utilize. And from start to finish, once we hold our pre-construction meeting and the contractors issue the notice to proceed, this is going to move pretty quick. It'll be 90 days from the time of award and notice to proceed to when the project will be substantially completed.
Right. But there's an Eagle Scout rebuilding a structure that was, removed. Mother Nature removed it.
Yes.
But that's right there in the Klutz Dry Dock area. All right, any questions for John at this time? Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. All right, any other business to come before the board this evening? Okay. With that, we'll.
Motion to
entertain a
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Ms. Wallowit,
Second.
second by Mrs. Standard. Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard? Yes. Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right.